You are amazing. You are taking action in your real estate wholesaling business. You're being proactive. You're picking up the phone and you're talking to distressed property owners, but there's still that nagging question in the back of your head that is, how many people do I need to talk to get a deal? I am going to deep dive every single number that you need to be tracking so that you can get to consistent deals as fast as possible. Check this out. Hey everybody, it is Brent Daniels, Mr. TTP, and I'm excited to share this with you because this is the difference between being an amateur and being a pro when it comes to picking up the phone and talking to distressed property owners. And that one thing is tracking your numbers. So remember, when you start out, maybe you don't have a budget. Maybe you don't have a lot to throw at this thing. Maybe the only budget you have is to get the phone numbers for the addresses that you're trying to get a hold of, and you have to literally pick up the phone and hand dial. Now listen, I don't care what you need to do. I'm going to show you, I'm going to prove it to you that if you use a dialer, it is like putting rocket fuel on your efforts. Because look at this. If you're hand dialing, the most that you can typically get is about 30 calls an hour. Okay, 30 calls an hour, which means about 10 addresses an hour that you can call. Because when you skip trace, if you're getting really good data, I hope you're using batchskiptrace.com because it's the absolute best data. Don't mess around with the other stuff, trust me. You get really good phone numbers and they typically come back with 5 or 6 phone numbers. But I only want you to use the first 3 because the way that it stacks up, the way that the data comes back to you is the first number is typically 80% of the time the right number that you want to call to get a hold of that property owner. Okay, the first number. The other 2 might be a home line, it might be a spouse's number. So it's good to go through 3, but don't go through all 6 or 10 numbers. You're going to totally waste your time. But with that being said, if you can only make 30 calls in an hour, that means you're only getting 10 addresses. Now, if you put it into a dialer, we use Mojo, mojosells.com, you can make up to 150 calls an hour, which equals about 50 addresses. Now this is really important because what I want you to do is I want you to understand that when you call these addresses, I only want you to call the addresses 2 to 3 times. So this is going to really determine how many addresses you need to skip trace, and I'm going to break that down as well here. But the contacts per hour, if you're hand dialing, is only 3. Versus 15. It's almost 5 times the amount. This is facts. This isn't just made up. This is from millions and millions and millions of calls, okay? So this is really important. I don't care if you need to sell blood or plasma or your TV or shoes or whatever. Get the money for the dialer because it's going to make your life so much easier. So let's look at how many addresses you need so that you can get the highest contact rate possible as you're making your calls. Because remember, the more people you talk to, the more money you make. So it's really frustrating if you are making calls for an hour and you barely talk to anyone, right? That's why I only suggest you go through the list 2 to 3 times, 2 preferably. The first time you go through the list is going to be the most likely that you're going to contact that distressed property owner. So if you are making 10 hours of calls on a dialer a week, you need 1,000 addresses a month. Okay, not crazy. 1,000 addresses. Now, if you're hand dialing, much less. 200 addresses, you should be able to get through that if you're hand dialing, but you can see you're going to get a lot more opportunity if you can call 1,000 people over 200. This is when it gets exciting, breaking down the actual numbers. Because remember, there's no drama to this. It's just data, but you have to track all of these so that you can understand the consistency in your business. Not only that, once you have enough results, your business is going to start getting predictable. When it starts getting predictable, that's when it's exciting because that's when you make those big business decisions. That's when you decide to go to wholesaling full time and get out of your 9 to 5. This is when you decide to hire people or cherry pick deals that you want to keep. But I always want you to make these decisions based on the facts, not based on hope. Okay, so let's break this down. Calls per contact. This is a beautiful indication of whether or not you have solid data. Okay, if you are skip tracing or getting data from different sources and it's cheaper or whatever, but you're not talking to the right people, you understand you have bad data. Get the quality. I'm telling you, for the cost, it is worth the value 1,000-fold. Okay, get great data, and your contact rate here should be, you should be shooting for 10%. Okay, you want to have a 10% contact rate. Okay, so that means how many people, how many times did you dial and how many people did you talk to? Okay, this also goes in, a little pro tip here is, if your caller ID number is coming up as spam likely, guess what? This is going to go way down. I don't care if you have the best data ever. Google your number before you use it to make sure it hasn't been chewed up by some other company, especially if you're getting numbers from CallRail or a Sideline number or a Google number or something like that. Make sure that those numbers are clean and fresh. That is huge. I'm telling you, that is going to clog you up more than you know. Okay, now let's look at contacts per lead. This is an indication of how quality your distressed list is. Your tax defaults, your probates, your driving for dollars, your tired landlords, your tired multifamily owners. This is going to be a huge indication, because if you're talking to people all the time and all of them are telling you no, 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 you know that that list is chewed up. Move around, maybe change which city you're calling, which area you're calling, which list you're calling. You can do that like that. That's the beautiful thing. If you're constantly, if you're spending an hour and everybody's telling me you're the 15th person, you're the 20th person to call me, switch up your list. You want to get 1 to 15, okay? Out of 15 conversations, you want to get 1 lead, okay? Now we go lead per appointment. This is where we talk about pre-qualifying our leads. Remember, we pre-qualify based on the 4 things. Do you remember them? Condition of the property, their timeline to get paid or their timeline to sell that property, their motivation or what is their problem, and their price. The more that you get pre-qualified leads before your appointments, this number is going to go up. What I want you to shoot for is 1 out of 10 leads end up as a signed agreement. You see how I wrote that there? Signed agreement. I didn't say contract. I didn't say paperwork. Agreement. That sounds good. That sounds comfortable. I'm not scared of an agreement. A contract, maybe. That sounds like you're trying to sign me up for something that I don't understand. Maybe I should take more time. Maybe I should have an attorney review. Maybe I should have a real estate agent review. Maybe I should have every family member review. No, an agreement. And this comes down to your presentation. Remember, if you have pre-qualified these leads and you're going in and they know, like, and trust you, they trust you to get the job done, they will sign the contract. I want you to shoot for a 50% here. 50%, and that's low, but that's somewhere to start if you're just starting out. Half of the appointments that you go on, I don't care if it's a virtual appointment over the phone or if you're face-to-face, knee-to-knee, belly-to-belly with these distressed property owners, I want 1 out of 2. I want you to leave with that signed agreement, okay? And then here, this is the beautiful part. This is what I want you to shoot for. This is the goal that I want you to have. I want you to have a minimum standard so strong that it is unbreakable, and I want that to be a minimum of a $10,000 deal. $10,000 minimum at every single deal that you do. And this, my friends, comes down to your cash buyer database. Okay, the more buyers you have, the more money you make. You need to be diligent of adding cash buyers to your database every single week. Okay, because the more that you have, this number could go double, triple. Our average is $27,000 a deal, but it used to be 12 until we got our cash buyer database. We took real serious action to build it up, and we built that healthy tension with our cash buyers so that we're not just sending it to the same 2 or 3 in the market that kind of lowball us every time. Don't be a cash buyer employee. Got it? Good. Now, look at this. Let's break this all down. Let's wrap this all up. Okay? Look at this. This, if you took all the notes from all of this data and you boiled it down, here's what you're really looking for. 20 hours to 1 deal. Okay, 20 hours to 1 deal. That's you earning $500 an hour. 20 hours, Brent? 20 hours, I've never done anything for 20 hours. 20 hours of just making phone calls, you're making $500 an hour. You're making $500 an hour. But here's the kicker. Here's why people quit. Here's why people, when they get into that dip of making these calls over and over and over, this is what kills them. Because the average time it takes to get that deal from first contact to getting paid is 90 days. That means you have to go through that 90 days of fighting through and making calls and staying consistent. Call after call after call, hour after hour after hour. But if you realize that this is what you're making, during those times that you're making those calls, it makes this a whole lot easier. It makes it a whole lot easier. And if you do it consistently for 90 days, I don't know a single person that has not been successful. Not a single person that has spent 3 months, 20 hours every single week, just going and going and going and building up their pipeline, they are successful. And I'm telling you, you have those 20 hours. We have 168 hours in a week. How much are you willing to dedicate to make $500 an hour, to change your financial future, to give you real estate opportunities like you've never seen before? That's what it's about. That's what makes this exciting, because you're amazing. You wouldn't be watching this video if you didn't have that pilot light inside you that said, I can do this. If you didn't have that faith, that belief, that hope that you can get out of your 9 to 5, to get out of the average life, to get into real estate investing and source real estate opportunities, it takes 90 days. It takes 90 days to change your life. I'm telling you, this is not quick. It is not easy. This is tough. This is challenging. We weren't trained for this. We didn't go to school for this. But I am telling you, if you follow this path, you will be successful. And when you are, I am going to cheerlead you. I am going to applaud you. I love you. We are a small group. We are a small niche of real estate maniacs that decide that we want to be proactive. We want to go into our community and we want to change our community one property at a time, because there is stress, there's problems, there's issues out there, and we can solve it. We need to get in front of people. And if you're interested in joining the most proactive group in real estate investing, it is the TTP family. Go to wholesalinginc.com/TTP. Check out what the program's about. Check out all the testimonials. Check out everything. If it feels good in your gut, sign up for a call. I look forward to working with you. Love you. See ya.